Hey everybody, welcome back to American History with Mr. Finn. I told you last time I was going to have a map, this time to show you. You have an idea of how that chain reaction went down that started World War I. However, I want to show you on a map what we're looking at with Europe. So here is the deal. This is a modern map, so it's a little bit different, but the Austria-Hungary Empire was in this area right here, all right? So that's where it was. In fact, here's Sarajevo, and here's Serbia right here. Serbia Montenegro now, but so you can see that this area was the Austria-Hungarian Empire, and down here, this little country was Serbia. Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. Serbia's secret alliance with Russia, which was actually all of this at the time, is going to come to Serbia's aid. Austria-Hungary's ally, Germany, comes to their aid, which then Germany tells Russia, hey, Russia, stop doing what you're doing, which brings France into the war as well, and they start to amass troops. As Germany, if you remember the story, Germany sees that France on one side, Russia on the other side. This isn't good. This is called a two-front war. You don't want to have to be fighting Russia on this side and France on this side. So Germany makes the decision to attack France first. In order to get there, they go through our little country of Belgium right here. Remember, they walk right through Belgium. And as soon as they start walking through Belgium, that means that you're technically invading Belgium. When they do that, they bring England into the war as well, and they attack. They go to attack Paris. They get to within 30 miles, but then it becomes a standstill, and that's when we dig our trenches and we begin to have that stalemate of trench warfare happening. So just to recap the countries involved here, we had Serbia, we had the Austria-Hungarian Empire, which was right here, we had Russia, which was all of this, we had Germany, we had Belgium, France, and England, all involved in this war in like a month period. It just boom, 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 boom happens very quickly. And again, America, we'll get to America's response, but at the time, America said, hey, that's a Europe problem. That's not a us problem here in America. But we'll see eventually the response by the Americans, the United States of America, what happens. But there's our map. That means that we have basically all of Europe is already at war that quick. So let's get to a couple of reasons why this becomes a stalemate, and then we'll move on to the next lesson. But let me get you back to where you need to be for me. And that way, I can explain it. All right, so we have our map. Europe is at war. So what happens? How does this happen? How does it get to this stalemate? I started talking a little bit about this, but it is our friend industrialization, big word, industry. So we have been looking at some of the good things about industry, some of the bad things about industry. We looked at how capitalism had come about, the response to capitalism with socialism and communism. But back to just what industrialization is, it's the use of machines and factories to mass produce stuff. In this case, it's going to be war material. But industrialization allows for mass production. So mass production means you just make a ton of stuff, right? Now that we're in war, we have mass production of war materials. If you remember another thing about industrialization that we looked at, industrialization really spurred on or made people try to come up with new ideas, new inventions. We had a lot of new patents coming out. A lot of just new stuff was hitting the market, and inventors and entrepreneurs trying to figure out the best way to do things, some new angle on something, trying to make as much money as possible. So one of those things is going to be war materials. Now, let me tell you some of these. So these war materials that are going to aid in World War I being so ugly are going to be the machine gun, which I mentioned. We start to see grenades. I think I have a list here. I know we have poison gas. There's a couple more things. Oh, artillery shells. That's what it was. But other things that happen, poison, gas was a big one. And I think those, I just want to make sure I don't miss any here. Yep. So, industrialization is going to allow for mass production of these things. And probably the biggest one is going to be the machine gun. Machine gun is going to allow for 450 rounds per minute. Now, let's put this in perspective. This is in 1914. In 1865, which is not that, like 50 some odd years earlier, we are going to see guns start to have repeat action rifling. So you could fire off, like shoot a gun, cock it, and shoot it. That still would only allow for something in the range of like 15 to 18 shots, and you still had to, cock it and shoot it and cock it and shoot it. Before that, we had the revolution where you'd put one bullet in and stuff the bullet down into the gun, and then you'd have to pull it up and shoot it. You could shoot three. Someone that was great could shoot 3 bullets in 1 minute. We have hit the point where we are shooting 450 bullets in a minute. That is a crazy jump in technology as far as weapons go. And grenades and shells and all of these things make the war just stop, because again, the same thing that did happen in the Civil War is happening now, which is you have all of this new stuff, but we have old tactics. So old tactics versus new guns, new machines, new technology. So what were the old tactics? Well, we line up on this side, we go towards you. You're on that side, you come towards us, and we try to fight it out and see who's going to win. And whoever wins that battle, that's it. Well, now you have a machine gun. So you start walking towards me, one person just, boom, done. Can clear out an entire line of people coming across towards them. So, with that being said, you understand why they stop. And last time I mentioned, what was the best way to stop this? Or like, if you didn't want to get shot, what was the only thing you could do? Dig a hole. Dig a hole and get down. And that's when we have, because of industrialization and all this stuff, we have trench warfare. Let me get industrialization out of here. Trench warfare. I'm going to have you take a look at some images today for the assignment so you'll be able to see what these trenches look like. But on top of this, so we have this trench warfare. This leads to a stalemate. That's where we're at. Again, nobody winning is what a stalemate is. And so that's where we're at in the war. Kind of, this new technology stops it. But let's talk about the mental aspect of this real quick. What does this do to the people who are fighting in this war? Well, if you are people seeing just how horrific, the weapons are, how many casualties there are, men are dying at an incredible rate in this war compared to all other wars. It's mind-blowing for the people involved in this war. What this is going to do is cause the men in the war to kind of switch off emotionally. So what's going to start to happen is the use of poison gas, that they would kill prisoners of war, they would poison wells, German submarines would shoot any ship on the sea that they thought might have weapons for the Allies, which we'll talk about the sides in a second. Not today, but we'll talk about the sides. But the point is, we're not now dealing, like the soldiers in this war are grasping to do whatever they can to try and win this war. They don't care who you are. They don't care about like emotions and what's right and what's wrong. It's just, I am trying to survive, and I will kill anyone. I will do anything. There is no ethics, no morals in war. It is just whatever I have to do to try and stay alive, which makes modern wars so ugly. There is, again, no morals, no ethics anymore. The idea of like, oh, you're not a soldier? Okay, hey, I'm a soldier, I'm just looking to fight other soldiers. Everyone is a soldier now. You know, that is what it does to the mental makeup of those people. There's just some horrible instances of things taking place during this time. The trenches were horrible as well, and you'll see that today. Let me just really quick I just want to make sure I get to where we needed to get to. Yes, we did, because we're going to talk about the American response and why the Americans do what they do next time. Which brings us to a good point, actually. This is where we want to be. The war has stopped. It popped off quick. Chain reaction. Everyone rushed off to war. They thought, oh, heroism, this will be great. You know, the young folks were like, hey, I'm going to get my glory in battle and war. They get there. They see what this new war is. The old tactics, no one switches anything up. And so they find themselves in this stalemate, sitting in trenches. Nobody's winning. It's getting ugly. There's a lack of humanity in the soldiers on all sides. And it's just a horrible, terrible situation for these people. And the world, and Europe and everything else. Like, you know, Europe is hitting the skids here. So, let's do this. I want 7 images of World War I. Same thing. Tell me what you see in 2 to 3 sentences. So we're in a good spot. But look up 7 images of World War I. Tell me what you see in those images. You probably see trench warfare, maybe some tanks and things like that to combat that. We'll get to that eventually. But 2 to 3 sentences for each one. And next class, we'll start to look at what are we going to do here in the United States? What are we thinking about this war? And we'll go from there. So on that note, make sure you get this to me today for attendance and participation purposes. And I will see you next class.